a newly published author, her second book. We welcome Napoleon native and EMU student Jordan Gretzner. Hi Jordan, welcome back.
Thank you, I'm glad to be here.
So last time you were here, you were in what grade?
I would have been a sophomore in high school, I believe, so
Wow.
4 years exactly later.
Wow. So, and you had just written your book,
Yeah.
The Island of Danger.
Yeah, I actually brought a copy
Yes.
just for emphasis.
So is it still selling? Is it still popular?
It actually is, yeah. I still sometimes see different videos that I made on TikTok, still get likes and comments, which is really weird. But yeah, it still is selling, which is pretty surprising to me.
Nice. So now, a new book, but completely different.
Yes, this is a poetry book this time.
So what's the name of the book?
It is called The Hurricane and Its Aftermath.
All right, so the hurricane, fun fact, there's no hurricane.
No, it's not a weather book.
Well, what does hurricane mean? It's a metaphor.
Yeah, so I have this book kind of split into two parts. The hurricane is part one, and that is a metaphor for like a storm in mental health. So I wrote these poems between the ages of 15 and 20. So they talk about things like anxiety, depression, self-esteem, kind of things that teenagers go through, and that is considered the hurricane. And then the aftermath is after the hurricane, kind of how you recover, cope, what you sort of do after that.
Well, that's interesting because I think of you as someone that doesn't have anxiety or self-esteem issues. You seemed like a really confident, and positive, happy-go-lucky teenager during your years at Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience? How do you write about those kinds of issues? Or is it something you did have experience with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say sort of in middle school was when I started to feel anxious about tests and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, that grew into just anxiety all the time. Really, kind of everywhere I'd go, I'd be in the car and I'd start getting really anxious, like I had a big test, except there was no test. It was for no reason. So, when you're in 8th grade, you don't necessarily have the words for it yet. So I would just start writing about how I felt. And I would use imagery of kind of how I felt, like either a dark storm cloud or, a tornado, something like that. And I would continue to write kind of how I felt. But yeah, I've always tried to be, really positive. And I think being positive and helping other people is also something that helped with anxiety a lot for sure. It's a lot better now, but writing was also a huge coping mechanism for me.
So have you felt like the kinds of things you've discovered and written about has helped maybe tamp down that anxiety?
I think so, and I think that something else I try to focus on besides just poetry itself is sort of getting rid of the stigma around mental health. I was really lucky to be able to do some school workshops this last week, and at each workshop I emphasized, that mental health is super, super important, and I feel like it's not talked about enough with, kids my age, 15-year-olds and especially middle schoolers. So I really wanted to emphasize that as well, and I think that by writing about it and sharing that, it definitely has helped me.
All right, here's some shots from your workshops, and you've spoken where, Grass Lake?
Yeah, I did 2 workshops at Grass Lake Middle School, one at the Meyer Library branch for some homeschooled kids, and then I spoke at the Jackson District Library Poetry Awards ceremony as well. So
you've attracted people when you put a flyer out that says poetry workshop or poetry presentation.
Yeah.
What else are you saying to get people interested?
So this luckily was very fortunate. I was with the Jackson District Library, so they kind of helped me a lot with that. But for other things, I actually made some flyers and put them around Eastern University, and I just said, do you like poetry? Are you interested in young local authors? And, are you interested in mental health? So kind of those 3 keywords are things that I'm really trying to focus on.
You've got a big social media following. Have you, since your publication, have you heard from teenagers that have been dealing with anxiety?
I have, yeah, on TikTok. I've tried to make some promotional videos for it. They aren't doing as well as I'd hoped. The algorithm isn't on my side this week. But yeah, I definitely have. I've heard some people reach out to me on Instagram and, have said that some of my poems that they read made them cry. And it's just very nice to have that connection with people.
All right, so you were just sophomore in high school, you were last year. I don't think you knew what you wanted to do, but now you just finished your sophomore year at Eastern?
Yeah.
So do you know what you want to do now?
No, I don't. I am majoring in communications with a minor in Spanish, so I hope to be able to do something with people, something where I can, get better at Spanish so I can talk to many other people as well. And hopefully with writing, I actually have plans for another fiction book. Oh. This time I want to try to, get with a publisher, or an agent. I still don't know how to do that, but that's my next big project, I think.
Neat. A couple weeks ago, it was the big award ceremony for the Young Poets competition, and you were the guest speaker.
Yeah, it was really great, actually. I loved it. And hearing all the little kids, it was from kindergarten to 12th grade, they were so talented. I'm still blown away by the amount of talent that young people in Jackson have. And it's really, really great for me to be able to speak to them, and see them. And
I've been surprised at how many kids are into poetry.
I know, me too. I was kind of worried a little bit that I'd show up at this middle school and no one would care, but they had their little notebooks and pens and were writing everything down. It was so sweet.
I see you've had a chance to travel the world.
Yes.
Where have you been?
Recently, my family and I, we went to Italy and France, and we went to Spain a few months ago, which is where I realized I actually declared my minor in Spanish right after I got back. I realized that I really wanted to minor in that language. I loved it. But I've been to Singapore, which was last summer.
Ooh.
I'm trying to go as everywhere. I want to go all the places that I can.
What was it about visiting Spain that got you to declare your minor in Spanish?
Just talking to people, and I was able to practice a little bit. And my mom and I speak Spanish together too, actually. And I just really, really liked it. I found that when you spoke somebody else's language, they perked up a little bit more, and I really like that it offers kind of more of a level of connection than you get.
Where did you go in Spain?
We went to Madrid.
Did you find that the Spanish that they speak in Madrid is different than what Spanish speaking sounds like here in the United States?
Yeah, definitely. And like my Spanish professor at Eastern, she's from Mexico. So even, some of the stuff she would teach and her accent differs a little bit. So it is all different. So I really hope to go to South America as well.
Ah, wow, they speak Spanish almost in every country there,
Yeah,
except
right.
I think Brazil.
Brazil, yeah, it's Portuguese.
Now, with the success you've had with the books, do you think that maybe that is going to be part of what your career will be?
I think so, for sure. I definitely want to continue writing. And I really do like having it for me as a side job. I don't want to necessarily make it my whole job because I still want to have something fun that I can do to connect with other people that's outside of my career.
You got a summer job?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm a server at Clavon's.
For where?
For Clavon's, the pizzeria right in Vandercook.
All right, can you get people in if it's crowded?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want the book, where do you get it?
You can get it on Amazon. That is going to be, just look up The Hurricane and Its Aftermath by Jordan Gretzner.
Cool. Well, good luck with that, and have a great summer.
Thank you.
Local author with success on her second book of poetry, The Hurricane and Its Aftermath, Jordan Gretzner. Well, stay with us. Up next.